Hey guys, I am Michael Patton. I am the Uber Theologian. I am out delivering food and teaching theology. What I'm going to teach you about today is the same thing I taught about on my blog. If you got access to my blog or you've gone to my blog, the one on Patreon, that's where I primarily put stuff, Patreon.com/C Michael Patton. But I wrote about the importance of the transparency that we reveal about ourselves, which gives us an image to other people. And essentially, guys, I'm talking about lying. I'm talking about what a destructive force lying is when you don't tell the truth. And I'm sure everybody out there knows this, generally speaking, that lying is bad. But let me tell you something about what lying does. Lying makes you completely disappear to where you no longer exist in a world of people existing. When you don't tell the truth, you're misrepresenting yourself, but not really misrepresenting yourself. You're representing something that does not exist. And so it's something that destroys who you are. To other people, you really do become invisible. I've had people that I know that, and it doesn't take much. All it does is take one or two big lies or a lot of little lies. And then all of a sudden, people, you just disappear from society. No matter how good of friends you may be with people, no matter how much you hang out with them, maybe you're in their family, but you're invisible to them whenever you lie because you don't exist. That representation that they have, which the only thing they have is basically how you present yourself, who you are. They see what you do and stuff like that. They can see through many times your false representation of yourself. But whenever you are telling them something, whenever you are exposing something about yourself, they don't know whether to tell it. You're telling the truth. If you've lied before, then it's like, who knows? Who knows about who you are? Who knows about what anything that you say? And here's the important thing is not only do you disappear, but here we have the eighth commandment: you shall not bear false witness. And in this case, bear false witness about yourself, bear false witness about things you think you know, you say you know. And then you have the third commandment, which is you don't take the Lord your God's name in vain. And taking God's name is something we all do. I mean, we're all image bearers of God. The name means reputation of God. To take it in vain means to do it in a worthless way. And so if you take the God's reputation and you misrepresent it, that's worthless. Worthless is the invisible thing. Remember, you're in a mirror and nobody can see. You're looking at yourself and nobody can see. You have no reflection. That's what you are whenever you lie. Now, God, first off and foremost, says, I don't lie about myself. God has never told a lie. As a matter of fact, the Bible says there's something God cannot do. Theologically speaking, there are things God cannot do, and they all have to do with misrepresentation of himself. He can only be who he is. Paul tells Timothy that God says, I cannot deny myself. And what that's saying is I cannot be anything other than who I am. It's impossible for me to be other than who I am. So he cannot lie, he cannot deny himself. We deny ourselves all the time whenever we lie. We disappear. God is over here saying, I am a perfect, what I tell you is a perfect representation, whether you like it or not. There's some things about God that we like. We enjoyed the doctrines of love and grace and his forgiveness, but other doctrines we don't like so much. We don't like part of his character sometimes that we see in the way he relates to us, and we just get kind of angry with him. That's okay. I'm not saying that there's something wrong with that right now. I'm just saying this, that he never is anything than who he is. As a matter of fact, his name is the tetragrammaton, which is the name of God, is I am. I am the being one. That's how it's expressed in the Septuagint in the Greek, the LXX. The being one. It's a present participle. I am just whatever I am all the time. Isn't that cool? That's really cool. His name is basically I am a perfect representation of myself. And so here's God, and he says, let us create man in our image. What his image is that? With all of his characteristics, with the characteristics, with his character. And we come down here, and the first thing we do is misrepresent ourselves, misrepresent his image. Then it just all falls apart. In any relationship, and anytime you have a relationship, truthfulness is what's called the without which not. The sine qua non. That's how it is in Latin. The sine qua non, without which not. It's a saying that means if you don't have this, you don't have anything that comes after it. It's the prolegomena, the prologue to a book. If you don't read this prologue, which none of us do, if you don't read this prologue, then you're not going to understand anything that comes after that. And so basically, whenever you have lying, it's saying a positive, a right representation of yourself is the most important thing to anything that follows, because everything that follows is based upon a right representation of yourself. If you establish yourself as a liar, nothing else matters that follows. So truthfulness is so incredibly important. It's hard to overstate. It's in the 10 Commandments. It's the 8th commandment. It is there's only 10. There's only 10 commandments of the big ones, the big commandments that represent all other 613 other commandments to go underneath it. There's only 10. And one of them is be truthful. Be who you are. I am who I am. You be who you are. And I know it's hard. I really do. I'm not judging. I don't mean to judge. I'm kind of preaching right now, because I know sometimes it's so hard because we hate who we are. We hate what we see when we look in a mirror, and therefore we want other people to see something different. Or it's not that we hate it, it's that there's expectations out there. People out there expect you to be some way, a certain person at church, a certain person at work, a certain person in the family, and we conform in order to fit in. I know how hard it is. I know that there's times in which we do act different. We act different. I act different around my wife, Christy, than I do. I'm just pulled into the bank to the bank teller. I know that I'm not saying that we can't reveal parts of ourselves to certain people, and it has to be proper, and there's proper ways to do it. I'm just saying, in the circumstances that are necessary, whenever you're creating lasting, strong relationships, the moment you lie, you disappear. Maybe they don't know it yet, but eventually they will. And eventually you'll disappear to yourself, because lying not only fools other people, or attempts to fool other people, which it doesn't in the long run, you begin to fool yourself. And that's the most damaging part. You have no clue who you are anymore. So being authentic, that's a positive way to put it. In the 8th commandment, you shall not lie, you shall not bear false witness. Let's put it in the reverse. Let's change it around. Let's put it in the positive. You shall not do something. Well, what does it mean you shall do? And I think in this sense, God is saying, you shall be seen, because I love to be seen. You shall have a right representation of yourself, because I have a right representation of myself. Then you have all of the implications to us being his image bearers, and us representing him here on the earth. Think of this. This is incredible. The invisible God is the most visible being that's ever existed. And what I mean by that is he never has a bad representation. Whenever you look in the mirror and you see him, it's always perfect. He's the most visible. We're the ones that are invisible. We're the ones who can't be seen because we lie. And God says, if you want to be like me, tell the truth about everything. Always tell the truth. You've got to represent me. That's what God did. We are his icons, his image bearers here on the earth. And for better or for worse, well, for whatever reason, that is the primary way in which God reveals himself to other people, is through us. And so we have to have that same characteristic as the great I am, the great being one, the one who is always who he is, the one who cannot be anything other than what he is at all times. Man, it's cool. I mean, it really is. It's just, in some sense, it's really exciting, because you do know God. Whenever you whenever you hear about God, whenever you have a right understanding of, whenever God reveals himself to you, it is perfect. It is the hard things as well. Like I said, there's some hard things that God reveals that we have to trust. He doesn't just, make it all look as good as he can and clear things up. And he doesn't come to church and put on a different suit and all the makeup that's necessary in order to walk through the doors of church. He is who he is everywhere that he is. So for us, it's essential. Now, there's a lot of you all out there, and I myself included at times, for sure. There's a lot of you all out there that have destroyed yourself with other people. You're absolutely invisible to them. You know it, and they know it. You may think they don't know it, but they do know it. You're absolutely invisible to them, and you've got to reestablish yourself. You now need to be who you are. You need to be who you are, like God is who he is. Now, I know that there's all kinds of other implications to the being one, so don't theologically with God's eternality, but we are to represent him as accurately as we can. And we can't always represent every attribute of his. How do you reestablish your character? That's the question right now. How do you get back your image? How do you get back? How are you no longer a ghost to other people? How do you get out of that? Well, there's no really easy way. I mean, it's not easy. In some ways, it's not easy because of how long it takes, and for other ways, it's not easy in what you have to do. But first and foremost, this you got to make it as part of yourself to decide. I am going to tell the truth from now on. I'm telling the truth, no matter how hard it is. And then it takes time, truthfulness, and time. It doesn't happen overnight because people will still be suspecting you're lying, even though you're not anymore. And it'll be frustrating, yes, because you're the only one who sees yourself accurately in the mirror and everybody else thinks you're lying. You're going to have to deal with that. We all do. Whenever you tell a lie, even one lie can do this. Whenever you tell a lie in an important situation, it's over for a while. You're gone. You don't exist. You've got to get your existence back by consistency, number one. Number two, and this is very important as well, is that you have to reveal those things about yourself, properly speaking, in context, wherever it may be. Properly speaking, you have to reveal things about yourself that are really, really hard. Whenever you do that, whenever you reveal self-incriminating stuff, whenever you reveal embarrassing stuff, whenever you take off your makeup in front of somebody and they see who you really are, and you're blushing because you didn't want anybody to see you this way, that's whenever they'll start trusting you more. They really will. And it goes a long way, especially things that are very incriminating. It's especially things that are very hard to tell other people. They'll know, hey, if he or she can tell me this, and that this is this damaging, I think I can start trusting them in other things of lesser import. But it's going to take those kind of things. First of all, you got to commit, and it's going to be time, and it's got to be truthfulness. And second of all, start revealing those things that are really hard for you to reveal. This is the only way to represent yourself and get your image back. But most importantly, to represent God, the great I am, whose image has always been perfect and always been what it is. All right, guys, listen, thank you for joining Uber Theologian. Hopefully I'll keep on doing this. I've changed call signs. Did I say that? I've changed call signs. I'm no longer the Camaro Theologian. I am the Uber Theologian, which does not mean I mean, I am delivering food. Okay. So let's put it that way, but it doesn't mean I'm doing it through Uber. So I'm not representing Uber in any sense. I'm just the Uber Theologian in that I am the great theologian. Here, talk about not lying, right? I am the Uber Theologian, like I am the theology czar on Facebook. Okay, so that's the way that I'm using it. I'm just having fun with it. You guys know it, I know it. But we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us for the